Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Jackson, Tennessee, and in this episode I'm going to focus on a rock and roll legend, or you can also call him a rockabilly legend. His name's Carl Perkins, and he's buried here, and there's also a historical marker dedicated to him, and it's just within a few feet from where I am. So here I go. Alright, so where I'm at in Jackson is the Casey Jones complex. Like, so that's the Casey Jones home, and that's the Visitor Center and Railroad Museum, and that's the old country store. And I'm not sure why they decided to put this marker here, but either way I'm glad I have easy access to it. This one again is dedicated to Carl Lee Perkins, and this is the front side of it. Sorry about the sun being in the way. Put up by the Tennessee Historical Commission. Here we go. From 1932 to 1998 was when Carl Lee Perkins lived. He was called the Rockabilly King and a rock and roll architect. Singer-songwriter Carl Perkins was born in Lake County on April 9th, 1932. In 1955, he wrote and recorded the celebrated rock and roll classic Blue Suede Shoes. A powerful artist, he influenced numerous popular musicians including Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline, Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, Wynonna Judd, and Garth Brooks. Perkins was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. He was entombed in the mausoleum at Ridgecrest Cemetery after his death on January 19th, 1998. And I also forgot to mention that we'll be visiting the Ridgecrest Cemetery later in this episode. And then on the second side, there is more information. A strong advocate for the prevention of child abuse, Carl Perkins worked with the Jackson Exchange Club to establish the first center for the prevention of child abuse in Tennessee, and the fourth in the nation. Proceeds from a concert planned by Perkins were combined with a grant from the National Exchange Club to establish the Exchange Club / Carl Perkins Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse in October 1981. For years, its annual Circle of Hope telethon generated 1/4 of the center's annual operating budget. Now, believe it or not, I mean, I've always been a old rock and roll enthusiast, and I've always enjoyed learning about the history of the Beatles, Johnny Cash, Jimi Hendrix, and Elvis. And I knew who Carl Perkins was, but I didn't really look into the life of Carl Perkins until now, and I'm glad I did. But he had a lot of other hits like Boppin' the Blues, many others. And I remember one of his last performances, he was on stage with John Stamos, or also known as Uncle Jesse. I think it was like an Elvis special or something. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and take you to the cemetery where he is buried. Come with me. Alright, we are now in Ridgecrest Cemetery. That is the World War I memorial. And over there is the mausoleum he is buried at. And a few more things about Carl Perkins. He was born into a poor family in Tiptonville, and that's about 60 miles away. And from an early age, like the age of 6, he was picking cotton, whether school was in session or not. But he knew he had talent when he started playing guitar at age 7, and he wanted to be a musician like some of the people he idolized, like some of the others like Elvis. And at age 13, he won a talent show with a song that he wrote called Movie Mag, and then he formed a group called the Perkins Brothers in the early 1950s. They performed at local honky-tonks, they appeared on radio here in Jackson, Tennessee, and then he was signed to Sun Records in 1956. And then here is his grave right here. I see people left behind guitar picks. And that is Sun Records. And next to him is his wife, who passed away in 2005. But his songs have been covered by Rick Nelson, Elvis, of course, with Blue Suede Shoes, John Fogerty, Eric Clapton, the Beatles, many more. He appeared in the 1985 movie Into the Night. And then, after he passed away here in Jackson, Tennessee, George Harrison paid musical tribute to Perkins, singing one of Perkins' early tunes at his funeral. That song was called Your True Love. So yeah, very nice. And again, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. He's also in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. I hope he gets to the Country Music Hall of Fame. I mean, it is technically kind of country, if you know what I mean, because that's how that rhythm and blues had a baby called rock and roll, right? But rest in peace, Mr. Carl Perkins, along with his wife, Valda. I am Jason in Jackson, Tennessee at Ridgecrest Cemetery. Sign off.